The most offensive F word you know is fear. A badass becomes fearless. Flipping the format on the fear of failure. Badass is an acronym, and each Wednesday, Kelly shares tips, tools, and information about how you can become licensed to be badass too. Turn up your energy with Wednesday Wisdom. Here again is Kelly Orchard. What's on your badass soundtrack?
Well, I'll tell you what's on my badass soundtrack, Mr. Ocean. Today it is the Happy Birthday song. Oh, hey everybody, Kelly Orchard, the badass certifier on this Wednesday Wisdom, September 29th. Guess what? Yes, it is my birthday. Today. Absolutely today. Yes. And I'm actually taking the day off, so recording this the day before. But it is my birthday, and this is my birthday episode 102, actually. Would have loved to have it been on the 100th episode, but, hey, I can't strategize and plan every single aspect of everything that goes on. But this is fun. So, I'm headed to Sedona, and it's for an attitude adjustment, absolutely. I usually maintain a pretty positive attitude, but, there's been a lot of stressors going on in my life. I share a little bit about it with you, with my parents, and just kind of navigating the adjustment of my single life living alone was completely upended to bring my parents to live with me. Not that I didn't anticipate it in the future. It's not like it wasn't part of the plan and part of the strategy. And did it happen sooner or later than I had anticipated? No, not either, but it came at a time where the whole world was kind of going crazy. So it was accelerated, basically. So anyway, I am going to Sedona for a much needed rest, reset, and attitude adjustment, because the entire month of September we've been covering the A in badass, which is attitude is everything, and you need to have a positive one in order to live a successfully badass life. So here I am, certifying badasses, one podcast at a time. There's nothing like a birthday podcast. There really isn't, because I've never done this before. I have had, many years in radio, celebrating birthdays on the air, having people wish me happy birthday. It always made me really uncomfortable to be in that kind of spotlight. Even though I'm a born performer, I don't deny that. I am born to be on the stage, to be dancing or whatever, but it was never really fame or even the spotlight that I sought. I just wanted to make people happy doing what I love to do, which is dance and sing and play and do make-believe things to make you happy. And so, I find that doing a birthday podcast is just kind of funny and ironic for me. Birthdays are a good day, though, a good time for us to rediscover who we are, remembering ourselves at different ages. And so this is sort of appropriate as well as I make my way to Sedona, because this for me is a birthday present for myself. I strategize this, and this is part of the self-love, self-care, taking care of your needs, because if you don't, who will, number one? And, if you are taking care of other people, or you have taken care of other people in the past and then neglected yourself, you kind of know that you at least know now I should have taken better care of myself. Or if you've ever known somebody who's been a caregiver and they aren't taking care of themselves. Anyway, what I've learned is when I plan ahead and I strategize, it works out really well. So this is going to be my 4th trip to Sedona, and it's actually celebrating my birthday. I planned this months ago, and I mentioned to my friends when I was looking at the calendar, good time to go to Sedona is in October. And this was way back in June, I think it was, that I started to strategize when I was going to go to Sedona next. And actually at the time I was on my way to head to Texas in July. This is how my life has evolved now, is that I plan my life around the trips that I want to take that I know are going to help me recover and reset and regenerate. And so Sedona became, my go-to place. Why? Well, I'm a Southern California born and bred girl and native here. And, well, the beach and the mountains are easy to get to. I can do that anytime I want to. I think that's like a half a day trip. That's something I've done my entire life. And so when I was really in need of a vacation, and I needed to literally, and I do mean literally, retreat from everything that was happening, I wanted to go somewhere I'd never been. And Sedona was it. So it's only like a 7-hour drive from where I live and easy to get to. And I have discovered that I really love it there. It's a great place for me to go to refocus and retreat and take care of myself. And I love nature and hiking. And I don't know why I have a very strong interest and intrigue in the indigenous culture, Native Americans. So going to Sedona or anything there, it's like I love to learn about the culture and the history and all of the myths and the lore and the energy and the science of what goes on there. So for me, it's always a big educational experience that I get to sort of refresh even what I learn. So one of the techniques that I utilize in my practice is HeartMath. And HeartMath, I explain that a little bit, when I do my speaking engagements, and I'll share a little bit more with you when I get back from Sedona, because it's not in my notes today to tell you more about HeartMath. But there's now a device. Well, they have a device that I've now purchased because I'm certified in it, and I've made the investment to purchase the device to measure your heart rhythm and your heart rate as you are having these warm and happy emotions that we talk about when you play music. And it demonstrates how you are actually able to get your heart rhythm into coherence to relieve the stress. And you can actually see the results of what you're doing. And so I'm going to take some time out in Sedona to actually rediscover some of these techniques by utilizing the actual device. And my friends, my poor friends, well, they're not going to think they're poor friends. They're going to love it because they're going to be my test models, my guinea pigs. And so that's sort of like rediscovering who you are. You're finding your way back to doing what you love is the path to successful badassery. And so these are things that I love to do, and it's a constant evolution. And so what do you do? What is one of the things that you can do? Maybe as you head into October, because this is actually the last podcast for October or for September as well. So as you enter the last quarter of 2021, I always say it's like no. I say no to New Year's resolutions. Well, how about we make a resolution now that we're going to make some minor shifts day to day that can help get our heart back into a positive rhythm that will help reduce the stress, reduce the depression, reduce the anxiety, and increase your happiness, coherence, and successful badassery. So when you do that, so one of the things that I'm taking into Sedona as well with my friends is this core values exercise that I discovered after grad school when I was interning at an agency. And of course, you get exposed to all sorts of different methods and practices. And that's what I love about, I'm a learner. That's my number one strength is I'm a learner. I love to learn. Not so that I can, tell people things, but how I can apply it to my world, or just because I'm curious about you. I'm curious about stuff. So when I learned this core value exercise, I use it on all of my clients. And basically it's an exercise where you go through these 30 core values and you pick 10 of them that matter to you. And then you one by one, you have to knock them off the list until you get down to the number one thing that's the most important to you. Not that those other values aren't important or don't matter, but you have to make a choice. It's like flipping a coin sometimes. What's going to be most important? Well, it really had an impact on me because my number one core value is wisdom. And everything I do. So the practice is if wisdom is my number one core value, and I want to practice wisdom then in all that I do and all the decisions that I make, practice wisdom in how I behave here or what I do there. Am I practicing wisdom in my practice when I'm engaging with my clients? Am I practicing wisdom when I go out and I do a speaking engagement and I present, the badass certification class? Am I giving wisdom away to the people who show up? Wisdom is very important to me. That's why, in my apple a day, it's 60 seconds on wisdom, success, and personal growth. And then, of course, I had to add wisdom into the podcast for successful badassery. That's why we have Mustang Monday, Wednesday wisdom, And of course, Fruitful Friday. It all has to do to blend in everything that I'm doing. Why? Because it creates me. It's creative. This is my creative art. This is how I express myself. This is, this is probably, and it's like, probably I learned a lot and I honed the skill being in radio. Obviously, you do advertising promotions and you do programs and you do all sorts of stuff and you have to get creative. You putting together creative ads and it goes with something and some theme. And this is like I'd say it was natural for me, and it is because I tell a story about the first microwave that we got and how my brother and I created a carnival because we got a microwave. We had a carnival in our backyard. I talked about that in many podcasts ago, so I'm not going to repeat the story for you. I think I talked about it back in January. But so for me, wisdom is really important. So what is important to you? What is one of your core values? What's important? In fact, I have core values in the Spring Apple a Day. So if you get my books, you can study those core values with the Spring Apple a Day book. So for example, the Q Crew. The Q Crew was a dance group that I created and developed that represented our radio station back in the early 90s. Now, over the years, many radio stations had done something similar. You'd think about it like cheerleaders that you'd see that would perform at a basketball game or at football halftime, things like that. Well, I had been always involved in dance and cheer my entire life. I was missing it when we were running the radio station. I was taking dance classes, but I wasn't in charge of it. It wasn't coaching. It wasn't a lot of performing. I was just taking dance lessons. And then by this time, I was married and had kids. And I think I had 2 at this point. My son wasn't born yet. And so I created this dance company to represent the radio station. Now, it didn't just happen. It didn't just like, I think I'm going to do this. What was going on in my life at the time that caused me to want to be so bored that I would create something like this? And that's the point. You have to be a little bit bored. You have to give yourself time to reset. You can't constantly be running forward at full steam ahead and not take a moment to reflect and reset and practice some wisdom. Where are you going? Where are you going so fast? I think that was always my problem. I was trying to get somewhere very fast, but I didn't really know where I was supposed to be going. I was just going there. But the Q Crew happened when I had a moment to slow down. I remember it very distinctly. We were a live assist automated radio station, meaning that the automation, the computer ran the station most of the time, but we could go live whenever we wanted to by just stopping the automation and going into the studio live. Well, we had a breakdown with the automation system that forced us to go live for a while the automation system had to go under some IT tech repair. Actually, it wasn't IT. There was no IT then. There was no internet yet. And so it was all mechanical, all analog and mechanical. But so I had to actually sit in the studio, even though I was a radio personality. Most of the time I would voice track, meaning I would record my announcements, and then the automation system would play them all back in accordance with the music. And it was very cool. I could announce the song and be on the air, and I could actually go do other things. I could be out, selling advertising or doing something with the chamber at a committee meeting, or taking care of my kids, or doing some other kind of work. But there was a period of time where all that stopped because I had to sit in the studio and actually play the music and the commercials and talk live. Not a bad gig, I know. But when you have other responsibilities, it's kind of frustrating. And, it's like, it was very rare when I got to just play DJ that it was actually just an enjoyable gig. So I'm sitting there and I'm just sort of like, I can't do anything. I'm chained to the studio. Can't go anywhere. Can't leave the room, because if you leave the room, you might have dead air because you missed the cue when the song ended. So I'm sitting in the studio, and the music that we're playing is, we're playing top 40 music, and it's danceable. This is 1990. You got Madonna, and you got, Janet Jackson, and you got Michael Jackson, and you've got MC Hammer. You remember that? And you've got all these, danceable type songs on top 40. And I'm thinking, this is fun. Paula Abdul, we were having, it's like, this is fun. And I was enjoying the music, and I was starting to dance in the studio. And there was a song it was a remake of the Martha and the Vandellas song, and it was done by Mick Jagger and David Bowie, called Dancing in the Streets. Remember that? And so I was singing the song and dancing in the streets and started thinking about how fun it would be to have, a bunch of kids that were dancing in the streets representing the radio station. Yeah. And our call letters were KVVQ. And so it was almost summer and we're coming up and we had this big promotion. See, I knew we had a big promotion that was going to be going on at the county fair where we had control of the stage for 10 nights. Okay, I'm sorry, but I needed to have a big production for our time to have 10 nights on the stage at the county fair. This was the main stage, not the grandstand stage, but the main stage. We were going to own it. And that was how the Q Crew was born, because I had a promotion that I needed an event for or some sort of content for. And I was sitting in the studio bored out of my mind because I had a million other things I should have been doing. But this was one thing that I had to do. But it caused me to slow down and I was able to reset. And the Q Crew turned out to be probably the most fun I ever had in operating our family radio stations. And so I want to just encourage you. It's like attitude is really everything. So even if you're down, even if everything's been derailed, give yourself permission to allow the boredom to come, to be so frustrated that you allow yourself to think of new ideas, something fresh, something different. Oh my gosh, I need to change. And sometimes that means stripping down what you already know and getting rid of it. Well, that is what I accomplish when I go out to Sedona. It is a reset, recharge for me. So I went, and so now I want to give you some skills and drills, okay, to help you acknowledge and make some defining moments in your life. I'm still working as a psychotherapist and I see clients on a regular basis. And so I'm not oblivious. I'm seeing it left and right, that lives are being derailed. We're experiencing a lot of depression and anxiety. You don't know what the future holds. You can't really plan for the future because it seems like almost every single day something new happens in the world, globally, locally, regionally, whatever it is. Something happens that causes you to think, well, that plan's gone to heck now. Right? So you need to develop some habits to increase your intuition. And this is one of the things that I learned about in Sedona. So remember, I went 3 times last year. I'm going to sip my coffee instead of put this on pause. I'm sorry. I made some lovely coffee when I came in, and now it's just sitting here getting cold. So I wanted to drink it. So I was like, I hope that when you listen to the podcast, that you listen to it when you're doing something useful, like maybe driving or cleaning your house or drinking coffee early in the morning, just kind of getting yourself set for the day. So it's time. Last year I went to Sedona 3 times. And the first trip was pure discovery. I had no idea what to expect. I wanted to invest in getting myself some self-care, and it was an opportunity for me because I did have the financial resources to finally experience some of the energy healing treatments that I learned about when I was in grad school with some of the holistic practices that are being utilized to improve health and mental health. I was very intrigued by HeartMath when I learned about that. Why? Okay, because I'm, first of all, the science of physics because of the radio engineering, but I had a heart problem. So anything heart related got my attention. So then you add the science to it and you have an actual device where you can see the heart rhythm. Well, I'm extremely experienced in that now just because of my own seeing my EKGs and knowing that I have a pacemaker in my heart that monitors my heart rhythm consistently 24/7. This was something intriguing to me. And when I discovered out in Sedona that HeartMath kind of, goes out there and it's utilized there too. Why? Because of the science, the energy and everything else that's out there was intriguing to me. Intriguing. And so I went 3 times because I keep wanting to discover more, and each experience that I've gone out there has been different. I think my favorite is rather than staying in a hotel, I would much rather be in a trailer out in the wilderness, which I've done twice. And I prefer that. So, but this time, however, we don't have access to a trailer, my girlfriends and I, so we've rented an Airbnb, definitely not a hotel, which is great, so we can cook our own meals and enjoy each other's company, and we're all of us looking forward to an opportunity to reset, recharge, regenerate, rebuild, kind of release some of the stress. We're all professional business owners, all of us that are going out, and we all deliberately plan. Like I said, I started this plan in June, and all I did was mention to a couple of my friends who enthusiastically said yes, and then knowing that we had to plan now with our accommodations, which, hey, it only just made us more committed to it and focused on it and looking more forward to it. I encourage you to do these plan trips months in advance. It really does help you to have something to look forward to, and it really helps to reduce the effect of stress, because even though stressful life is coming, you also know, oh, but I got this planned, but you can't let it go. You have to go. So part of this for me was to develop my intuition. That is something that I've always had being in touch with some intuition and some acknowledgement and knowing, but when my plans were derailed again and again, I kind of lost touch with what's important as far as just following a path, instead of worried about, that comparing myself with other people's success, or feeling like I got knocked down the ladder and nobody else did, but I did. So now I got to climb back up. And, there is that tendency for all of us to think that we're not in the right place. We haven't done enough. We haven't gone far enough. We haven't gotten there yet. And that's what the attitude adjustment that we need today. You need an opportunity to reset and recharge, and give yourself the opportunity to be bored, to be so like not worried about what's happening later on today, or some place that you have to be, or some task that needs to be done. Because when you can find yourself in a complete sense of peace, boredom, stress-free, that's when the big creative results or resolutions are going to come for you. And I found this article, How to Tap Into Your Intuition, from it's apartmenttherapy.com is the website. I'll put the link in the show notes for you. But it's 6 small daily habits that can help you connect with your intuition. And what is intuition? It's that gut. It's that gut instinct, that knowing that you always know. And statistically, it's that first initial gut reaction that's usually right. It's our brain that talks us out of what our intuition already knows. I like to share with my clients. It's like your brain is going to lie to your heart. So what you need to do is trust your gut, that pit of your stomach. And so this is a really good article about, about how to tap into and develop your intuition. I'm just going to get down to the bullet points. The first tip, slow down. That's why I'm telling you to slow down. With the fast-paced everyday life, you might feel pressure to keep up or always be on. Reminding yourself to breathe and slow down allows you to be more in touch with your own needs and desires. I've noticed lately that people who spend some time with me notice my breathing and they make a comment about it. I've gotten to the point where that is what I do. I slow myself down with my breathing, but I don't realize that I'm doing it anymore. I'm doing it automatically. And it is a practice that I had to utilize. I do it when I'm going to do a speaking engagement. And when I'm done speaking, I calm myself down again. It's sort of like a self-regulation, something that I learned with the HeartMath techniques. But I realized that I do it naturally. I was doing it when I was in my heart issues, once I learned how to listen to my heart. And that's what I teach. So it's the quiet moments where your intuition will speak louder. So slow down. And then quiet your mind. It's like, maybe you've heard of monkey mind. I was just talking about this with a client the other day. It's a term that refers to the restless or unsettling mental chatter. It tends to cast copious amounts of self-doubt, which can block your real feelings or true desires from coming forth. Being able to recognize and quiet these thought patterns so you can separate your thoughts and feelings from facts allows your intuition to talk to you. Now you can understand why I like cognitive behavioral therapy practices. That's fundamental. How you think affects the way you feel, which affects the way you behave. So quiet your monkey mind and challenge the thoughts and feelings with the facts and let your intuition develop. Quiet your mind. Another tip is listen to your body. Intuition is referred to as your gut feeling for a reason. The body holds a ton of wisdom that is often subconscious and can reflect your deeper feelings, wants, and wishes. Case in point, ever feel the pit in your stomach when approaching something you don't think is a good idea, even though your mind is telling you everything is fine? It might be time to start listening to those hunches after all. Oh my goodness, this really hits home for me. How about you? All right, another tip, another habit to create is cut out noise. This is why I love Sedona so much. I can get up early in the morning and go out on a walk, not a major hike, and just it cuts out all the noise. I'm just in there with nature. So what you choose to engage with or who you choose to listen to can have a big impact on your well-being. Ultimately, you know yourself best. Outside opinions or viewpoints that distract you from doing what you can often can be unwanted noise. Here's another habit. Practice makes perfect. Tapping into your intuition is just like learning another skill. Think of it as a muscle that you've never worked out before. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Practice it every day. Listen for that knowing feeling and follow it, even if you always don't know the reasons why. So this is some of the stuff that I've been learning since I've been going to Sedona. Not that I didn't already know it. It's kind of common basic knowledge, right? I mean, it should be, but we do have to just be reminded of it. So get yourself out of your comfort zone. Did you know? Here's a fact. Your brain wants to keep you safe by resisting change. However, your intuition pushes you to break out of old habits and patterns. Your intuition wants you to expand, grow, and evolve into the best version of yourself. So when you know this and trust it, you begin to live in harmony with the unfolding of your life. Leave your comfort zone is often associated with fear, as unfamiliar things can seem scary. I teach you to flip the format on your fear, get out of your comfort zone, and trust your intuition. This is exactly where I'm coming from, and I'm so glad that I get to go to Sedona, leaving in the morning, and going to be spending out there, not coming home until Sunday. So there will not be a Fruitful Friday or a Mustang Monday, but come next Wednesday Wisdom, there will be lots of new wisdom and stories from Sedona for you on how I've been able to kind of grow and expand and reset and recharge and regenerate during this time. So I recently purchased this HeartMath device that allows me to measure your heart rhythm as we work on getting it into coherence. I can't wait to start using it, and my friends are going to be my test models this weekend in Sedona. It's part of my personal growth and professional growth. It's a tool that I had to invest in, but it's something that I can help see the results in my clients, and so can they, on how their badass program is working for them. Now, I always want to give you a piece of music on Wednesday Wisdom because that's what it is. Segment 3 is always the skills and drills on how you just wish to grow. So here's a little insight. When the first trip to Sedona, actually it wasn't my first trip, it was my second one, and I was heading out to meet my daughter and son-in-law and my 2 grandchildren who were camping near the Red Rocks, out in the wilderness in BLM free land, and that's Bureau of Land Management free land that you can camp on and just dry camp. And so they were giving me instructions on how to get out there. Now, I had driven the Mustang and had been driving all day. And by the time I arrived on this dirt road, it was starting to get dusk. I mean, the setting was beautiful. Sunset in Sedona on the Red Rocks. I mean, you got to imagine it was just beautiful. And it's starting to get darker and darker and darker. And my car, the Mustang, is 2006. So guess what? It still uses CDs. In fact, it had this, this badass sound system called the Shaker 5000 or whatever it is. If you look in the back of the trunk, it's got a big, huge speaker that takes up a good portion of the trunk. And it's loud. It's a nice sound system. That's part of one of the reasons why I bought the car is for the music, of course. But anyway, so I had put in some random CDs, and it was getting down, and this is a 6-changer CD player. So I have 6 CDs, and it's a 7-hour drive, and I was just letting the CDs roll, as they go. Not mixed up, but just CD1, CD2, CD3, CD4, CD5, CD6. So the one in the 6th position was the one that started as soon as I hit this dirt road, which was going to be another 20 minutes or so before I reached where they were at. Dark road, dirt road. Yeah, the Mustang's been 4-buying, that's for sure. So, but I put on my absolute number one album. I tell this story about this album in my badass certification class, and you've heard the story before. It's Leftoverture from Kansas. I'm not going to make a big secret about it, but I wanted to just share the lyrics to the second track on the album. It's not a hit song, but the lyrics are very profound, and it is my Sedona song because this is what was playing as I'm driving toward the Red Rocks as the sun is going down, while I'm headed towards my family, feeling joyful and peaceful and just content that I knew that I was going to have a nice experience. And so, yes, it's profound. It's not badass, but it's on my badass soundtrack. So it's the lyrics by The Wall, written by Kansas from the album Leftoverture. And I'm just going to give you two of the lyrics, and then we're gonna be done because it's my birthday and I got to go party. All right, so here it is. I'm woven in fantasy. I can't believe the things I see. The path that I have chosen now has led me to a wall. And with each passing day, I feel a little more like something dear was lost. It rises now before me, a dark and silent barrier between all I am and all that I ever want to be. It's just a travesty, towering, marking off the boundaries my spirit would erase. Gold and diamonds cast a spell. It's not for me, I know it well. The treasures that I seek are waiting on the other side. There's more than I can measure in treasure of the love that I can find. And though it's always been with me, I must tear down the wall and let it be. All I am and all that I was ever meant to be, in harmony, shining true and smiling back at all those wait to cross. There is no loss. Now, I know that's really deep and profound, but for me, it makes me cry and it makes me shake and shiver. It changes the vibration in my body. So that's why I know these lyrics are important to me, especially now, because anytime that I need to imagine myself, transport myself back to a peaceful place, I can play this song and imagine the Sedona Red Rocks. And that is HeartMath. And that's how you get your heart into rhythm, into coherence, so that you can reduce the stress. And I help you find just your song for your badass soundtrack that's going to help you. So it's my birthday. I am out of here. I am so glad that I get to go to Sedona. I got to share this with you. Thank you for all the birthday wishes. And, I will share some pictures and things from Sedona, but there's not going to be a podcast. There might be a live video or two. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not going to worry about working or promoting. I really am there to rest, reset, regenerate, recharge, do some writing and some hiking. And we're doing a pink Jeep tour and getting some massages, and we're going to cook some good food and drink some wine. And doesn't that sound pretty badass? Yes, it does. I'm Kelly Orchard, checking out Badass Certifier. Take it away, Mr. Ocean.
A badass is mindful of their surroundings, has a positive mindset and a plan. A growing attitude changes when it encounters courage. It becomes badass. Be bold, be brave, be confident, be badass.